Morning Saturn class, we are going to carry on our work on angles. We're going to have a lot of fun measuring angles today. You're going to need your yellow books, a pencil and ruler, your protractor and your Inspire books. But first we're just going to recap right angles, acute angles and obtuse angles. Please talk to yourself and tell yourself what you know about those three types of angle. So remember, we're looking for the size of the angle, which one is which. Okay, there we go. So we've got right angles are 90 degrees, acute angles are less than 90 degrees, the smaller than 90 degrees, they are acute and sharp. And obtuse angles are greater than 90 degrees, they are O for open, O for obtuse. They are nice and wide open. Today we are going to be using a protractor. You have got one very similar to this, and you can see there that there are two scales, one on the outside, 0 all the way to 180, and one on the inside, going the other way round, 0 to 180 again. I wonder if anybody knows why we stop at 180. So the degrees on a straight line add up to 180. We'll come on to that another time. But for now, you can see that you've got a scale on the outside and a scale on the inside. And we need to know which scale we are going to be using for the angles that we will measure today. So you're just going to listen at this point and pause if there's something you're not sure of. Rewind, listen to it again. Or maybe if you're able to, have a discussion with your adult about it. So we measure angles in degrees. 90 degrees is written as 90 with a superscript circle that sits in the air, 90 degrees. We use a protractor to measure an angle in degrees, and here is how we use a protractor to measure an angle. We have a line here called A, we have a vertex, and we have a line. We don't know the name of that line. We don't need to know for this activity. So we've got the vertex where the angle sits. Place the baseline of the protractor on line A. Well, there we go. We can see this has been placed on line A. Place the centre of the baseline of the protractor at the vertex of the angle. So you can see the centre has been placed extremely accurately onto where that angle meets at a point, where those lines meet at a point. And then number 3, we read the outer scale. I'll come on to why in a minute, but for now just listen. We read the outer scale. The line passes through 45 degrees, so the angle is 45 degrees. Well, let's check. Here we go. It's placed on 0. We've got the centre on the angle, on the lines where the lines meet, and if we read our line going up, the blue line, we can see that it's quite right. We go 40 and we've got 50 and it's halfway between the two, which is a 45 mark. So the angle is 45 degrees. Now, here is where you need to pay full attention, because we read the outer scale because the 0 on the outer scale lies on line A. So think about it carefully. If the 0 is on line A here, we need to read the outer scale. And actually, it's 45 degrees. If we come back to this picture here, we know that that is going to be less than 90 degrees. Why do we know that it's going to be less than 90 degrees? That's right, it's an acute angle. It's less than 90 degrees. So, if we look at our protractor, we know that 45 degrees is less than 90 degrees. So that also helps us as well. If we were to look at the outer scale, we would see that it's 135. Well, that can't be right, because that's more than 90 degrees, and the angle would be obtuse. So it's worth remembering our acute and obtuse angles for this. We will come on to it throughout the lesson. So you're going to now have a go at doing some drawing of angles. You're going to follow the instructions to draw an angle. You may need to pause at points, which is fine. You're going to draw lines so that they meet at a vertex, and we're going to create an angle. I don't want you to do it so that you've got a tiny angle. I want you to do it so you've got a nice clear angle that you can measure. So follow the instructions with my photographs. So here you go. I go draw a line using a ruler and I label it A. The next thing I do is angle my ruler so that I can join a point at the other end of A. So you can see on this picture now that this end of A with a line. So here is what it looks like. It does look extremely similar to the one we've just looked at in our lesson on the previous slides. So if you can get it to look similar to that, you are doing a brilliant job. I've labelled the vertex just so I know where that angle sits. So now you're going to have a go at using your protractor. You're going to have a go at measuring the angle you have just drawn. So what I want you to think about is which scale you're going to need to use. Now, because your protractor has a small hole in it, you will probably need to extend your lines with your ruler a little bit just so that you can get them to be clearly read on that protractor. There's the instructions again. Place the baseline of protractor on line A. Place the centre of the baseline of the protractor at the vertex of the angle. Read the outer scale. Now, yours might be quite similar to about 45 degrees. I'll pause the video, you can have a go. Okay, so I hope you got on okay with that. With the angle that you drew, I hope you used the outer scale. Okay, we're going to move on now and have a go at looking at the inner scale. So here I go, I've drawn a fresh angle. What is different to the angle that you've just drawn? That's correct, it looks like it's facing the other way. We can see here that we've also got a baseline of A, and now our turn opens out this way now. So it's opening out that way. So we're going to use a protractor to measure this. Can you draw an angle that looks like this in your book? And then have a go at measuring that angle. I want you to think about which scale you would use. Also have a think about whether it's going to be less than 90 degrees or greater than 90 degrees. I think we can work out what it might come out as, hopefully, with our knowledge of acute and obtuse. Okay, so if you managed to do that, well done. I hope you got some good answers with your protractors there. If you needed any help, that's absolutely fine. If you needed to go back on the video clip to see the instructions, again, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to show you a little bit more about the scales that we use. This picture here has been taken from the textbook, and it says measure angle DEF. So I'll just recap where DEF is. We've got D, E and F, and E is the angle, sits in the middle of D and F. Now, it is smaller than a right angle. I think we can agree it is an acute angle. It's 70 degrees because we can read the scale, and we use the inner scale because E and F sits where the 0 is. Okay, let's recap that for you when that moves out of the way. We read the inner scale as the 0 of the inner scale is on the side EF. Okay, it's there. So it is 70 degrees, and we'll just quickly check. Yep, 70. Now for this one, again we're looking at an angle GHI. GHI. H is where the angle is. Now, it's telling us we need to read the inner scale. Is angle GHI smaller or greater than 90 degrees? Well, let's look at the blue lines. Yes, open, so it's more open than 90 degrees. It's obtuse. We know it's 135 degrees because it's telling us, but we'll check. Why then do we read the inner scale? Let's go round. It's 135. Okay. We read the inner scale because H and I sit on that 0 baseline. Okay. Here is another one. So for this one, we are reading the inner scale, I beg your pardon. Here we're going to look at how LKJ or JKL, is it smaller or greater than 90 degrees? Just by looking, we can see that it is greater than 90 degrees. When we read our protractor, if we were to use this first one here, it would come up with 70. Well, 70 is less than 90, so that would mean it's acute. So we need to use the outer scale. So the question it's asking you, do we read the inner scale or outer scale? Well, we've just worked out that we need to use the outer scale. But why are we using the outer scale? That's correct. L to K sits on the 0 on this side of the protractor. So just remember that an angle, if it's smaller than 90 degrees, its value should be less than 90 degrees. And if it's greater than 90 degrees, its value should be more than 90 degrees. So we really need to remember that if it looks like that, it's going to be less than 90 degrees. So if you're coming up with figures that are over 90, you've gone wrong somewhere. And when you measure ones like this, if you're coming up with numbers that are less than 90, again, you've gone wrong somewhere because this is obtuse and it is greater than 90. For this next activity, you're going to draw angles into your book. So you've had a couple of practices at that. You're going to estimate them or make a sensible guess at how many degrees there are. Then you're going to use your protractor to measure them. Now I have recorded my work in a table. I've got my angle and I've done 4, but my table shows that I'm having a go at 4 of them. Sorry, I've done 5, but my table measures I'm going to do 4 of them. So I've got my estimates. Number 1, I needed to label which one was number 1, sorry, so here we go. We'll say this was number 1, where my red dot is, and my estimate is 100 degrees. Why is my estimate more than 90? That's correct, it is an obtuse angle. If I were to say this was number 2, my estimate is 40 degrees. Why is it less than 90? That's right, it is an acute angle, it's going to be less than 90 degrees. So that's what I mean by a sensible guess. Okay, we're going to use a protractor to measure them once we've made our estimates. Have a go. Pause the video. Okay, Saturn class, I hope you managed to get on with that in your book. If you need any more practice at that, then do a couple more protractor measuring angles in your yellow book. But if you are confident to get moving on, you can go on to page 110 in your Inspire books, and it's question 4 and 5. So read the questions really carefully. For questions 4 and 5, you are looking at whether the protractor needs to use, whether or not the person needs to use the inner or outer scale. So again, remember, what does that angle look like? If it's acute, then it's got to be less than. Which way is it facing? Where is the base line on the protractor? Where is the 0? Okay, so have a go at that. And question 5 wants you to actually read the degrees. So you need to really look carefully. It's not always going to be on a nice, easy multiple of 10. Remember that halfway between those 2 points will be a 5. So each one of the tiny notches is a 1. Okay, so have a go at page 110. And then question 6 on 111 is very similar to what you have been doing in your books, although the angles are already drawn for you. So that will give you extra practice as well. Good luck, everybody. I'm sure you'll be absolutely amazing. Keep up the amazing work.